Hi, I'm Steph, and I've been an Oru Kayak user for over 2 years, and today I wanted to talk about how my experience has been. Now, I own the Oru Kayak inlet and lake. The inlet I purchased over 2 years ago, and the lake I've had for over a year. I primarily use the inlet, but both of them have been used in multiple situations. Now, I kayak a lot. I probably kayak about once a week on average, so I've used this in a lot of situations. Well, I've taken them to a lot of rivers and lakes here in North Florida. I've also had a portage a good amount of times in my Oru kayaks, which means there was something in the water that I needed to get over. A lot of times there was down trees that I would get out of my kayak, stand on the tree, bring my kayak over, and then continue paddling. I've also had to get out of my kayak and walk on land to get over some areas that I couldn't kayak. I've also gone kayak camping in my Oru kayak. I've done a couple rapids, little rapids in my Oru kayak. My kayak has been hit a few times by fish while kayaking. I have kayaked in the rain. I have hiked with my kayak and then kayaked in a creek. I have kayaked in some windy conditions, not ideal for kayaking, but I have kayaked in some wind in these kayaks. I had a tea party in my kayak. I kayaked with half a paddle because I forgot the other half at home. I have hit stuff in the water, so sometimes when I'm kayaking in water that's not so deep, there might be trees or things in the water that I can't see, and I have hit a couple of those things. I have also traveled with my kayak, so I've taken it in the car with me to Orlando, and I have kayaked down there. And overall, if you're wondering, I have not fallen out of my kayak. So speaking of falling out of my kayak, I haven't done it in real life, but I have practiced it. So safety is really important anytime you're kayaking, whatever kayak you're using. So I have practiced a lot of safety things with my Oru kayaks. Number one, I purchased float bags to go in the bow and stern of the kayak to help in case I capsize in my kayak. I also have a bilge pump that I bring with me in case I capsize and need to get water out of my kayak. And I've practiced this twice in a pool, actually falling out and then trying to get back in. So it's really ideal to practice that before you get on the water. And I have done that, and I have not actually fallen out in real life, which I really hope I don't, but I do have the knowledge of having how to do it if I do fall out. I've also tried a lot of Oru kayak accessories, and I found some that I really like and some that probably aren't super important. I've also spent a lot of time cleaning my kayak because that is very important to make sure it's clean after you paddle and when you put it back into the box form. Well, number one is they are so easy to use and to get on the water. So it's a very light kayak. I can manage it easily myself, and I can throw it into my Mini Cooper, and I can take it out to a lake or river, and I'm ready to start paddling in just a couple minutes. And they're actually really easy to store. I actually built a camping closet in my office, and I have 2 shelves, one for each kayak, and it just fits perfectly and really easy to store. Now, if you're like me, you are probably wondering how durable are these kayaks and what is the lifespan of these kayaks. And that was part of the reason why I started to share my Oru kayak adventures, because I thought other people might be curious about the longevity of them. So I have actually made a series of videos talking about some of the issues I had with my Oru kayak inlet early on. I had the bow and stern fairings have issues, and I had to replace those. I also had a hole in the hull of the kayak. It did not go all the way through, but it was a little hole that I tried repairing, wasn't able to, and ultimately Oru Kayak was able to replace the whole kayak under the 1-year warranty, and they just sent me a whole new kayak. And I'll put a link to videos where I talk about those things. So you might be saying, okay, well, you've really only had the Oru Kayak inlet for 1 year. So technically, yes, the one I have now, I've only had for a little over a year, but I've been using Oru kayaks for over 2 years. So I will say the durability of the kayak is about what I expected it to be. I am very careful with the kayak. I don't drag it along the ground. If there is rocky areas where the landing is, I will put the kayak in the water so it doesn't scratch the bottom of the kayak. But those are things that I expected to have to be careful of when I got this type of kayak. But for me, how easy it is to get on the water and how easy it is to manage myself really outweighs the having to be careful with it. So the Oru Kayak inlet that I got a year ago, that replacement one I got, it's been holding up pretty well. The back fairing actually has a little broken piece on it, just like my first one had, so I could easily replace that if I need to. But it doesn't affect the use of it, so I haven't really replaced it yet. But overall, any kayak you get that you actually use on a regular basis is going to need maintenance. So these kayaks are obviously no exception. They may need more maintenance than a hardshell kayak. I do own a hardshell kayak. It has some significant scratches on the bottom, I will say, because I do kind of just drag it around. So there are some issues with that as well, and some maintenance and some water that gets in it and things like that. So every kayak has their own issues that you kind of have to work through and maintenance they have to do. Now the Oru Kayak lake that is over a year old, I have had zero issues with it. I've had nothing break on it. I have seen no holes. I will say I don't use it as much as the inlet, but it has had some really heavy use and I've had zero issues with it. So I do think it has less issues because there's less parts on it that could kind of go wrong, but it's held up really well. I love them. I really love my Oru kayaks. They allow me to get on the water so quickly, and kayaking is something that is just so immersive and something that is just so unique. And I love to be able to get on the water and just experience nature in such a unique and fun way. And my Oru kayaks allow me to do that. And they allow me to do that in a quick way, and it's fun. And all of the maintenance that I have to deal with is really not a problem because of the joy I get from kayaking. Well, I do want to say I do not work for Oru Kayak. I have purchased these kayaks on my own, and this is something that I really just love kayaking, and I wanted to share it on my channel, and that's purely how this all came about. But I do really want to try more Oru kayaks in the future, and the one that I've been really having my eye on is called the Oru Kayak Bay ST, and that is a longer kayak, and it has a closed cockpit opposed to what these two are, they're open cockpits. So I've been really curious and interested to try out that kayak. Now, like I said, I don't work for Oru Kayak, but I do have affiliate links with Oru Kayak, which means if you click on a link and buy something, I get a very small commission from that. So if you are interested in buying any of these products, feel free to click on those links. It's no cost to you, but it does help me out a little bit. And speaking of those affiliate links, the PR company that works for Oru Kayak that manages the affiliate part of their business, they actually reached out to me and asked if there's any kayaks that I wanted to try out. And as I just mentioned, I have really been wanting to try out the Bay ST, and they sent it to me to try out. So I am a happy girl. I will say it is not my kayak to keep. It is mine to try out. So I have it for an undisclosed amount of time. They didn't tell me, so I don't know how long I get to try it out for. But I do have the Oru Kayak Bay ST in my hands now. I've put it together, but I have not hit the water. I'm going to be doing that probably tomorrow. And I'm very excited to share what that experience is like, because like I said, I've had these two kayaks for 2 years, and they are the entry-level Oru kayaks, and they have the open cockpit. And the Bay ST is a longer kayak it's a narrower boat, and it has a closed cockpit. So it's a whole different experience. If you have an Oru kayak, let me know in the comments if you want to buy an Oru kayak. If you don't want to buy an Oru kayak, let me know why in the comments. I'm very curious. All right, well, thanks for joining, and hope you have a great day.